recording now. So we're on. So Amy, you wanted to discuss this.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys want to start somewhere else, or did everyone have a chance to read my email since last week? It was called Call on Sunday Notes to Read in Advance. Did everyone get a chance to read that?
I believe so.
Okay, great. It kind of outlines some steps that we need in order to move forward with marketing. So step one is about uploading email lists that we already have. Step two is creating a signature offer or a freebie that we can get in exchange for email addresses to build your email list. Step three is making sure that we have a clear sense of who the target market is, because that will impact the messaging and where we're putting that message. And then step four, as we're building these communities, both online and in your email list, that we're generating and dripping content that's adding a lot of value and growing that readership. Yeah.
Okay. Works for me.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I was having to mess around with my headphones so I could actually get something that worked. So, hey, it works.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is that we're in an enclosed space where I'm talking. I'm down in my basement office, and you can actually hear me. If I were in a classroom, you couldn't hear the microphone.
I know.
So,
Well, yeah. The fun, exciting news that I had for the last 2 weeks is that my company decided to eliminate my position.
what?
Yeah. So I'm going to go back into my consulting business, and I think I already have a client. So
I'm so sorry, Kevin.
I've struggled with my my boss, the CFO, for the last 4 months. Has been a challenge, and so after about 3 days, Julie said, "You look so much lighter."
Oh, good.
That's stress. It's like you'd come home from work every day mad. I'm like, yeah, so it's good. So next Friday is my technical last day.
Wow.
So that's kind of
well. I offer my condolences and congratulations, because I know what it's like to get out of a bad situation, and how it's like about a 50-pound weight gets lifted off the top of your shoulders.
Yeah. So it's
so you're okay with it? You're okay with it, Kevin?
Get along better with the family.
Yeah, I'm going to get more time. Yeah, Gordon, I am. I'm actually perfectly fine with it. It's been. I don't want to go through more time with this guy. He's changed over the last 6 months. He's changed into a guy that you could actually work with, to a micromanager, and he tells everybody what to do. And it's like, I can't take it. It's just, I'm happy to be gone.
Yeah.
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 Why is it so many people go down the dark side in business like that?
I think it's a power thing for him. And then he also, in this last week, they did some reorganization. Well, that's why that was the excuse to get rid of me. But they did some reorganization, and he took on a whole bunch more responsibilities. So he's also empire building.
Right.
And, every time that I've seen that in the past, it comes back to bite you big time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Karma's going to be a bitch.
Yeah. Well, I don't have anything quite as dramatic, but my company that I've been with for over 30 years was sold to a Canadian company called Valsoft that basically just collects software companies as productive assets. And that hasn't turned out to be quite the smooth transition that the former owners told us it would be.
What a shock.
And some positions did get eliminated. Fortunately, not mine.
Wow.
So yeah.
Are you okay with it?
Well, I'm okay so far. But I had planned on working another 4 or 5 years, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, maybe we can get this going, and you won't have to.
I know.
Yeah. Spend all your time doing this instead, huh?
So the bottom line now is I'm going to have more time.
Well, good. We can talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, as long as we're going through this, you guys aren't unaware of this. Amy knows a little about it. But over the Christmas break, I came to the conclusion that I had to go back to the East Coast for it. And I ended up doing that for 2 weeks because my dad is running out of money and needs to be moved out of his apartment. And you know, I've been trying to get my brother-in-law, who's his power of attorney, to do something and get things done. I've been doing a lot of research and sending him a lot of information. I went back last October and met with them. Then I find out that he's been diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's.
Oh, man.
So I ended up spending 2 weeks on the East Coast, jump-starting the process, getting a lot of paperwork done, finding a place, and then my father absolutely refused to move. So did not accomplish that, but got a lot of other things done. But I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to have to head back again.
Okay.
So that's been a challenge, and also a very sad one because we dearly love our brother-in-law. So fortunately, I was able to stay with their son, my nephew, who's a pretty level-headed young man, drinks too much, but that's the family he comes from. But he's a really level-headed young man, and he and his half-brothers have been struggling with what they're going to do. So he and I had lots of talks, and I was able to help him a lot. So at least something got accomplished, but we'll see what happens. It's just for now.
Okay. Well, seems like we all have challenges then.
Yeah. So let's do the challenge. That's the fun challenge.
Okay.
The book.
Let's do the book challenge.
Yeah. So, yeah, sounds like lots of transition for all of us.
Yep.
Okay. So where do we want to start? Amy, you gave us a list. Email lists.
Yeah, and I don't know if others want to also offer potential agenda items that we need to discuss on the call.
I want to talk about, well, I don't know if it's going to fit into this agenda that you have, but maybe it's just what else do I need to be doing with LinkedIn, or if I do not have a Facebook account? Do I need to do anything along those lines? What do I need to do? I'd like that to be on the agenda somewhere.
Yes, good point. Social media. Okay.
Amy, were you able to get into, I saw you redid my Facebook page, which looks great, thank you.
Oh, great.
And has gotten a lot of positive comments from the various people that I'm surprised follow my Facebook page because I'm never on it.
Oh, good.
Will be in the future, but it's been received very well.
Oh, great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Were you able to get into my Twitter and LinkedIn?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure you could.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and maybe we could just go ahead and start with social media, if that's okay then, because Kevin also raised it. So because Mike was the one who already had a Facebook profile and a page somewhat established for the book, Mike and I had a call a few days ago just to touch base about social media. And so primarily I've been working within Mike's particular profiles. So for example, I'm working on getting his Goodreads account set up as an author. His Facebook profile is being optimized to also show the focus of the book right now and the page as well as the group. So a page is really great, and I've communicated this or talked with Mike about this. A Facebook page is really great for like a landing page, as like similar to a website, right? Facebook is not prioritizing it in terms of posting algorithm, but we still need to be posting in it. So that's what I'm going to be doing. There may not be a lot that's happening on the page, but where Facebook really prioritizes is for what people get to see is 3 areas. 1, paid ads, for sure. this is a great thing. And that's to find new people that we don't have connections with who can join your community and hear promos. The second is to do something like Facebook Lives, which are video content, which enables people to stay on the platform longer. Facebook likes it, more ad revenue. And then the third way is Facebook groups. Another way that people spend a lot of time online is when they're in particular groups or communities that are generating a lot of really great and interesting content and conversation. So that's what Facebook wants to see. They want to see the equivalent of like a book club within the social media platform. So that's what I'm working on, and I've been working on with Mike a little bit. And so we'll be fully fleshing out an editorial and posting calendar so that, and I mentioned in one of my emails, if you have any ideas for great articles or things, because it's not just about promoting the book, it's about being clear experts within a particular field. So that's kind of where we've started. I also have Mike's LinkedIn information and his Twitter account, which will also be optimized, because what we'll do is we set up a third-party social media scheduler that enables us to schedule posts that will appear across all 3 platforms, so that Mike doesn't necessarily have to go in there and to post individually or to necessarily have to spend that much time. So for example, within LinkedIn, it's enough for them to get the default post from Facebook, and then for me to go in every time there's a new blog, for example, and create an article within LinkedIn, which further gives visibility for the book, for the author brand, so on and so forth. So then to get to and so the goals around that then is to really make sure that we have a solid presence in those 3 areas, so Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I think that's primarily where the target market is hanging out. We can get into more details about that. And to really grow that Facebook group and the number of people who are following those comments and the likes on the Facebook page. Now, and that's just one author of 3 authors for this book. So then to get to Kevin's question, which is, what do we need to be doing as authors? And it was a conversation I had with Mike, is that this is also about your author brand and developing your author brand. At the time, I didn't know how much you guys wanted to do more on social media. It helps tremendously to be on social media, even if it's just for promoting the book. Like, you don't have to actively hang out in there other than for that reason. But in terms of priority of the budget and making sure, because that would also take a lot of time for me to create the profiles and to also post on behalf of Mike and Kevin. We were thinking of primarily focusing on Mike's social media profiles. But if the two of you, if Kevin and Gordon, if you're interested in creating your own and participating, I think that would be great. And you could take a lot of that's already exists in terms of best practices on Mike's, and you could optimize your own profiles on Facebook. And you could be an admin on the Facebook group, helping to contribute to the conversation. So
I have no particular interest in being on any of those platforms.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. And if you want to, you said you're also on LinkedIn, right, Gordon?
No, I'm not.
You're not. Okay.
No.
Okay. No worries. So
I don't share my personal information.
Yeah. So at a minimum, we want to make sure that one of the authors.
You can buy it for $100,000 if you want to share it.
Yeah. And then, so Mike has also mentioned that he's really actively interested in helping to also be more present in social media.
I was under the impression that one could set up a Facebook page for say a corporate entity. Do you have to be an individual?
In order to set up a Facebook page, it has to be connected to a personal profile.
It does have to be a personal profile. Yes. So, but don't businesses have Facebook and Twitter accounts?
They do, and it's connected to one of the management team's profiles. That's one of the ways that Facebook makes sure that there's not a lot of just spammers and people creating. That you have to, if you want.
Well, they don't want it to interfere with the 50% of the Facebook accounts that are fake that they've created.
I know. It's one way they're trying to, and if they didn't, there would be a lot more of it for sure.
Yeah.
But that is the number one.
Okay, you say it's connected to some corporate member's personal account.
Personal
Is
profile.
it connected to them by name? Or is it,
Yes, it should.
or is it connected anonymously?
No, it should be connected to a personal profile. That's how they cut down on spammers.
I see.
Mm-hmm. So, at a minimum, Kevin, thinking about your own social media presence, even just optimizing your own LinkedIn page, and doing things similar to what we're doing on Mike's, which is posting his blogs as LinkedIn articles, helps to build his author brand. So same for you, Kevin. If you want to further optimize your own LinkedIn page or profile, this will show. And I've seen that you've already made some efforts in that direction. And you'll see. I haven't touched Mike's yet, but you'll see once I do, you'll get a sense of what you can do that shows what is your current priority in terms of promotion, if you want to do that, because it's a way to build the connections. Because what I'm going to start doing is working with the three of you to identify who are those key influencers, other colleagues that we can start strategically adding as connections in spaces like LinkedIn and on Facebook, because that's really the market. That's the target audience that we're going after. It would be wonderful if we had like thousands of Baha'is who like and follow. But at the end of the day, we also are trying to find those influencers, the people who are like, yeah, actually, my company could really use something like this. Or why don't you?
I'm gonna need to understand what it means to optimize my page, because I'm gonna have to go in this week. I'm planning on going in and cleaning it up to point it, primarily to my business again, and not coal fires. So and I have a link or whatever you want to call it to the Moving Beyond Compromise page that I created a long time ago in LinkedIn, but never did anything with.
Right. Yeah.
So we need to understand what it means by optimize, and we don't have to do it right now. We can.
Yeah, and there are examples. So another conversation within this conversation we can have is the competitors. Who are the top competitors within the market? So you probably saw in the email that I sent you that there's
you suggested that there weren't any competitors.
Yeah, there's not very much. I'm a little surprised. There's very little that I've seen that's written on group decision making, which is essentially what it is. It's group decision making, right? That's like popular. How people would conceive of it. There's a couple books that have been written. One book by a woman who lives in Idaho, but she's not active on social media. She has a website, but looks like she's more into like speaking engagements in other areas now with that. But it's probably because group decision making is under the umbrella of leadership. It's just seen as a tool in the pocket of leadership. So then if like, oh, okay, actually we're looking at the competitors who are promoting leadership qualities and skills and attitudes.
Yes, another thing that you might look at is team building. I suspect that there's maybe some crossover there. I think there are books about building a cohesive team. I don't know. It seems like we came across a few books that were kind of related, but not exactly. But then we feel that this is a unique product outside of the Baha'i world.
Right.
So I don't think we're going to find a whole lot that's direct competition.
Okay. If you'll notice, I changed the page that's being shared.
Yeah.
To just a basic Google search on decision making.
Right.
And as usual, you've got about 1 billion results here. Most of them, however, are just old thinking. Since Amy sent the focus page, the target group page, I started doing some research and decided that I need to redo the initial blogs because they really don't reflect what people are able to find if they go looking. And maybe focus the blog on more on the current method, the problems with it, and then go into an improved method, which is, of course, consultation. But you know, there are books, but they're all about, basically you can sum it up as identify the problem, identify the alternatives, research, make a decision, implement, and take action.
Yeah.
How primitive.
Pardon?
How primitive.
Yeah,
Which is fine at the individual level.
that's
Right.
great. It is, and
When you
that
get
is
into the
true.
dynamics of a group, it's different. Yeah.
Very, very different in the dynamics of a group, and that's one of the directions I was heading with those blog posts that I've been sending out. But I'm going to go back and redo the first few
Okay.
to really sort of set the stage to compare it with the current thinking of the psychology of decision making.
Okay.
And there's all sorts of things. There's a group at Harvard that's trying to apply the scientific method to decision making.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's kind of it. Typically, Harvard, I mean, it's very good, but it's also so academic that most people will just blow it away.
Yeah. And that would be great, Mike, if you're really familiar with the common discourse around these concepts and ideas and what's being promoted, so that you can kind of go in and debunk them as well and give examples of where they don't work or they're not effective enough. Or
Yeah, and there appear to be a few consultants that I've turned up in the first couple of pages of this search.
yeah.
So what I was going to try and do is get prepare a list of these and try to get this out. And I'll probably send you guys a document with just some links into it that I think are of interest.
That would be
Check it out.
super helpful. Thank you, Mike. That would help us out a lot. The other reason we look for competitors is it's not just like how can we distinguish ourselves within the market, but also what are some of the best practices? Like what are some authors doing that gives you ideas for what's working really well? Like how are they, writing about topics within their blog? How are they promoting their materials? Are they doing a lot of videos? What is even their signature offer, their freebie look like? Is it a series of a series of videos, or is it a webinar that it leads up to, or is it an infographic? Like all those things will help us to identify, because people are already doing it, what's working already really well that we can also learn from.
What was that last thing you said? Infocrafting?
Infographic.
Sorry. Oh, infographic. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. Well, we haven't really decided what our freebie is going to be, have we?
No.
Right, which is a critical component because, as I mentioned in the email, in order to get email addresses, people typically want something in exchange. If they don't know you, they want something from the exchange. So that's something we can talk about next if you want to. But for social media, then, how are we feeling? Is this okay that we're primarily working out of Mike's accounts to make sure that he's strong in all those different social media profiles? And
okay. That's fine with me.
Yeah, I'd like to. And then I don't know if Amy, have had a chance to go into that Moving Beyond Compromise LinkedIn one through my login. I changed my password, but I can give that to you so you could go in and look at that and see what we need to do there.
Yeah, yep. And I can work on that too. That would be wonderful. Thank you, Kevin. Okay. And then that covers the areas of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then Goodreads is also, I set up the author account with Mike, and we're working through making sure the right books are listed, et cetera, that it's very easy to find. The other thing I talked with Mike about, and I know we're not that big of a fan of Amazon. However, the majority of people, when they're looking around for a book, will first come to Amazon.
They will.
And one of the benefits of having an author account on Amazon is that they can find out more information about the authors and where to follow them and where to join their community. If it's just a book on the page, they won't share typically the URL, your website address, or where can they find you on Facebook, so on and so forth. So an author account can help redirect people who are interested in who this author is or the book into joining the community, which is what we want. We want people to be actively part of the community so they're keeping up to date with the new book that's coming out or the updated book.
Okay.
So if that's okay, then I can also set it up again through Mike. And as we have these things up and going and in place, we can revisit this idea of, okay, how are we feeling about Mike being the strongest presence in terms of online as an author, and if this is something we want to explore further with Kevin and maybe Gordon in time.
Sure.
Okay.
Awesome. So then we can move on to the signature offer. So as I described in my email, this is something that needs to be almost like people would be willing to pay for it. It has to be really high quality. So we can choose in what form that is. And I don't know if any of you have ever opted in for a freebie in exchange for your email address online. You typically see it like the top 10 ways to create a budget, or 5 ways to make sure that your toddler goes to bed on time, or something like that. And again, the point is that you are helping to solve a problem. You are helping them to get to understand you better, and compelling them to want to know more, so that when they do receive emails from you, they're like, oh yeah, actually I do want to read this. So typically what business people will do is they'll set it up that the signature offer grabs the email address from the person, and it opts them in initially to an email series that they'll receive. So like on the next day, for example, they'll be like, hey, thanks so much for subscribing. Or the very first email they'll receive is like, here's your freebie, thanks so much. And then the next day they'll be like, here's a little bit about who we are as authors. Maybe a couple days later, it'll be something that's also valuable that further expands on the brand. And then a few days later, there might be an additional offer. But I don't think we're at that point. I think it's just an initial email series to get to know you, to get to to provide some value of what it is that you have to offer, and to show that you have an expertise within the field. And then because they're subscribed, then we're starting to send out things like the blogs that Mike is writing, and if Kevin and Gordon also want to start writing some content. Other things of value that we think would be helpful. And then promotions too, as we start getting closer and closer, as we look at the example of like pre-orders, because pre-orders really help with getting on top 10 lists, so on and so forth. So then the question is, okay, so what is it? And we talked briefly about this in our previous meeting, but what is the content of that signature offer, and in what form should it be delivered? What would be the best in terms of those things that I just described?
Say that again a little bit differently.
Sorry.
So the offer needs to somehow relate to the content of our book, as well as solving a problem for the people who are giving their email address? Is that right?
So it needs to come from the place that you are experts in group decision making.
Right.
You have a particular tool called solution building, right?
Yeah.
So within that, you don't have to, or you could, it's totally up to you, because questions arise even when you give away like the very best content that you have. Questions will still arise for people, like, well, what about this scenario? And I'm not sure how this would work in real life, or like they often want to know more. Like if it's really high quality, people will do this. And in fact, some authors decide to go ahead and give away their very first book for free. That is the freebie.
I was going to say, can we give like a coupon, a discount coupon?
It's not going to be enough.
That's not enough.
No, because then they have to take an additional step of purchasing something.
Right.
They need something that is of high value right away.
Okay. Does it need to be something tangible that gets mailed to them, or can it be something transmitted electronically?
Yes,
like
it would be electronic. So it would be, for example, say that an author decides they're going to, send a book about how can you, and this could be really cool too. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the 9 principles, but it could be something like, what is the most painful thing in group decision making? Okay, it's like, how do you follow through on an action as a group? And then it could be like a really short, like a few pages description of how do you do this? Like it could be an elaboration of one of the hardest parts that people are like, yeah, I need to download that because I'm struggling with that currently within my own team. So how that would happen then is we would create a PDF, with a really beautiful cover that would be sent to them automatically anytime that a new email address is entered. So it's all automated and it's digital. It's not a physical thing that you have.
Okay.
Or it could be a series of videos, like step 1 on day 1. I'm going to share with you, this is where you need to begin. Step 2, and that's really great too, because right away they get to know the authors well in person. So videos are also really effective, and they're delivered via email.
Right.
Interesting.
I've been looking a lot lately at Sharice's author page that she has. She has an author site on the internet, and she's really promoting her book. The publication date is April 2nd, and one of the things that she did was you could sign up to be one of the a group of people who are going to get a free copy of the book.
Yeah.
Publication. And we're talking like about 50 people so you have a reasonably significant chance of actually getting a free book if you sign up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I don't know at all.
That would work.
Yeah.
So we'll have a sign up for a random drawing from among the first 100 or something, or 200.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would argue actually it probably needs to be, because people are skeptical as to whether or not they would win something like that.
Okay.
I would argue it actually needs to be something tangible.
Okay.
So it could be, and the what we can do too over the course of the next couple of months as we're building the email list is we can also create 2 to 3 offers and figure out which one is the most optimal, which one is actually performing the best. That's another way to do it. But you totally could, if you want to start just, getting out of the gate by saying, sign up for your free copy. We're going to give it to the first 50 people. So it creates an urgency. Then they've exchanged their email address in exchange for the ebook, essentially, of Moving Beyond Compromise. But then at some point in time, we would have to shift strategy to be a different signature offer, because we also don't want people to think, oh, I've already read that book. I don't need to, even though I'm on the email list, I'm probably not going to buy the revised edition or whatever.
Yeah.
Unless your next book is a completely different and new book, that strategy is just for short term. So we can do that initially and say, okay, we're going to limit it to so many copies, but then we need to switch over to the next signature offer that's going to continue to generate email leads.
Well, just as a further thing from looking at Sharice's material, she also has, as a part of her site, an opportunity to exchange your email with her and get access to new material that she's writing, little short stories, etc. Because she turns out to be quite a prolific writer. I didn't realize just how much, but you sign up and then have access to a lot of material. And one of her things that probably is going to generate a lot of interest is that in her book, she's got a lot of ancillary characters. And so she's writing short stories about their backstory, how they got there. So,
yeah.
And that one is going to take off, because the characters are very interesting that she's created.
Nice.
So that's not what we would do, maybe, although we might write Lily O'Hara's biography. Who knows? But you know, anyway, the issue is that she's doing that. I thought that was pretty creative because an awful lot of people are going to sign up for it, including her parents.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so it can be something like that. But I would argue it needs to be something tangible that they immediately get in exchange for their email.
Yeah, not just a thank you.
Right, or a possibility of getting something or a coupon or, yeah.
So what is our, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is our, is it, other than the only freebie that I can really, other than giving away a copy of the book, which I think is a good idea, the other one is, do we take just the guiding principles and put them in a really nice format, and that's a single page or a 2-page PDF, and that's the initial giveaway.
Yeah.
And what else can we do?
I like that idea too as another option. I think that's really great because again, we can give them valuable information that they see there's clearly logic behind this. There are steps that make sense.
Right.
They can still benefit from it, whether or not they buy the book. That's what we need to do. But then for people who are like, this is great, I want to know more, or I have questions around what does this mean, or I need help with this, then they're the ones who become part of your active followers in your community. So I think that's great. So at first, the freebie can be a book up to a certain amount of copies. The second one can be the 9 principles. A third one potentially could be a video series. So Kevin, I know you had mentioned that there's this possibility of doing.
Well, not anymore.
Oh, not anymore. Okay. Okay. Sorry.
I won't have access to the building after next Friday.
That door has closed. Okay. Well.
We could set it up.
It is totally also possible for you to do this just on the fly. I have a friend, for example, that I just signed up for her email list, and it was a series of videos, and it looks like she literally just did it from her smartphone.
Yeah?
Yeah. That she was really clear in what was she going to talk about in each of her videos, and then that was just sent out via email. So if one of the 3 of you is interested in doing something like that, it could be like the 3 steps to getting your team to agree to the same rules, or the 3 steps to whatever, and then we could deliver it one at a time in an email sequence. But again, it needs to be content that people, regardless of whether or not they buy your book, find a lot of value and it helps them. Because likely if it helps them, they're going to want to know more.
Okay, so do we basically need to create a short script off of each one of our rules? Is that kind of what we're talking about?
Yeah, it could be something like that. It could be even shorter than that, though. That might be a long email series. That would be.
Well, I mean, we could create a video for each one of them. We could write a little script for each one of the rules and just do a little short. I mean, how long are you talking about? Like a minute and a half?
Oh, maybe 5 minutes at most,
5 minutes?
maybe, if that.
Yeah, we don't want to go over 5.
Okay, and then
people won't watch.
No,
yeah, they need a lot of powerful content in a short period of time, especially considering the target market, which is like they're busy. They need very helpful information in a short period of time. Right. So what we could do, this would be actually really interesting, and it kind of leads them into wanting to know more, is kind of like what it does in the book, right? So you have the first, the principles get dribbled in. So if you even did 3 videos on the first 3 principles, then if they want to know more, then they need to join the community and they need to buy the book.
Right.
The book tells them more. But again, like those first 3 principles are also just in and of themselves just really helpful. Like if they can even get their team to that point, then yeah, they could actually start making decisions. And if they follow through on the rest of the principles, then they'll really become great at decision making.
Okay.
So that could be the other thing. So then you 3 would have to write a script for like, say, 3 videos that would cover the first
yep.
of group decision making.
Oh God, it's like we have all the information. We just got to
put it in the right
form. Together. And I'm going to want to go back and look at like what Mike and I presented at the Association of Eye Studies, because we pretty much did that for each one of the guiding principles, and we just probably have to go back and look at that again.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. It's awesome to spend some time seeing if I can. Again, I'd be interested in working on that. I just need, Mike, you do a great job with the script writing, so I might just get with you to on the first one, and I'll do it and see what it looks like.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
And again, I think that's better because people in the productivity world and leadership world, they're all about audio and they're all about video.
Right.
Because they're usually on the go themselves. So that can be even more helpful than, say, like an infographic, which can still be helpful for this market. But when you're initially approaching a cold audience, it needs to be something that is accessible, that they can digest, that's a high value for them.
Okay.
Okay, great. Which is great because once we start to really generate a lot of traffic, through the signature offer, we can start sending out promotions and other things so that they become book purchasers for the future.
Okay.
So part of that too is this list of contacts that you may already have. I can't remember, how many email addresses do you have? Any?
A bunch.
A bunch. Okay, great.
I've got a huge email list.
I got
And this
multiple.
would be, again, this would
multiples.
be people who would likely not unsubscribe. That would be like, yes, I'm totally interested in what you guys are doing.
All right,
And
so we need to.
well,
You're
we're not
saying
gonna
we need to.
introduce them.
We need to go through our email list and call it down to the people that would not likely unsubscribe. More of our closer
Yes.
circle 1 and possible circle 2 people.
Yes, definitely. And even I talked with Mike a little bit about this, but like former colleagues, other people that you
Yep.
even from school way back when, like anyone that who would benefit from this. And like I said in the email, we would send them an initial welcome email just saying, hey, we're starting to get excited about our book. We've put you on the email list. You don't have to follow us. You can easily unsubscribe by clicking this link if you're not interested. So they're not feeling like, I didn't join this list. Why are they emailing me?
Okay.
The majority of people will probably not do that, especially if you had a good relationship with them.
Right.
And we're not sending them emails every day. So they're not going to be feeling like they're getting spammed, which is a good practice in general. So, but I need that email list because that is the beginning of when we're starting to send out content. We need all these pieces to come together pretty quickly, including any branding elements. So if you guys have any of the graphics for even the old book, I know we haven't gotten a new cover yet, but so this is like any graphics from the old book, any color codes, any fonts that you remember using, things like that, because we want consistent branding across the board. Oh, and headshots. If you have any links of those headshots, I have Mike's that he sent me.
I've got some new ones. I'll send it to you.
Okay, great. So whatever you want to send in terms of having a presence for your headshot.
Yeah, I'm going to be pretty much cleaning up everything at Coalfire this week and moving it onto my personal PC of what's important for me. So
okay.
So that'll be good. Okay.
Okay, great.
Did we discuss your target audience profile? It seems like we kind of skipped past some of that.
Yeah, we really need to. We started talking a little bit about it, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, first off, gender, you have mostly male, but also female. I don't think there's any, I think it's either. Why did you decide it was mostly male?
Which, in an ideal world, yes, absolutely. I think the reality is the majority of, and we know it, the reality is the majority of people in leadership roles right now are men. So we're just.
But I'm also thinking the majority in leadership roles that might be interested in trying something new might be women.
That's true too. But I'm in terms of like reach size, it might be able to help. We're not discounting females for sure. And the content, it feels good enough for both genders. The unfortunate reality is the majority of people we're trying to reach are men because they're in the vast majority of the leadership roles at this point. But you're right, we're not, you're right, we're still looking for a large number of women who will also be interested.
Is there a difference in a criteria for-profit and nonprofit organizations?
Yes, there is. Yeah, let's talk about that, Kevin. Please elaborate.
Yeah, because I see where, obviously this applies to any organization. It doesn't really matter. But for nonprofit organizations, I think you're going to get a higher percentage, at least from my experience and my contacts, a higher percentage of women owned or women, not owned, but women directed companies, organizations in the nonprofit world.
Nonprofit, yeah.
Slightly higher percentage maybe, but is there a different marketing strategy for those two criteria?
Yeah, that's a really great point. There's slightly different target market profiles, and here's why this is so important, and we need to talk about this. So like I said, Facebook advertising is insanely cost effective. It's like the cheapest form of advertising you'll ever find, and it's micro targeted. So you can create several different target markets, and this could be one, which is, yes, all of the things that we've described, but it's going to be mostly female within the nonprofit sector. And you can actually do that within Facebook, that they're going to they'll target women who fit that particular demographic.
Okay.
And they'll see the particular message that's being sent to them. And then same for men, same with men. And maybe we're seeing mostly men who are in the for-profit sector. So they can have their own profile, and we can work with that. That's a really great point, Kevin. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Because
I think a lot of the social related things, especially like education, are always driven by women, overwhelmingly.
I agree.
Yep.
That's great. Okay. Yeah, a lot of it too. Well, because remember, one of the bigger goals as well is not just to influence, but to also obtain speaking engagements.
Exactly.
And so schools and nonprofits don't always have the resources to be able to do that. Yeah. In the for-profit sector, they do. And they're more likely to be the ongoing consulting relationships or contracts that are developed as a result of interest from the book and expertise shown.
Right.
So it may be that we don't put as much emphasis there yet until there's resources that are coming in that enable us to do more with those particular sectors of the market.
Okay.
Just as a thought.
On the other hand, nonprofits are extraordinarily profitable, and many of them are rolling in money.
Oh, really?
Yes, they are.
And those in leadership positions are making boatloads of money.
Nonprofit is just a corporate designation, like a 501c, but many of them have way too much money.
Amy, the designation nonprofit, 501c3, 401, etc. These are tax designations. They're just they're a way to avoid paying taxes, and it just says that the money gets reinvested in the business as opposed to distributed to shareholders, but there's no limit to what the managers can get paid.
Yeah, administrative costs run incredibly high.
And you want to have a really abusive example of the one that's like pertinent to today that I'm not paying attention to at all, but is the NFL. The NFL is a nonprofit organization. A tax-exempt status with the IRS.
I'm wrong.
And the commissioner makes $50 million a year.
Whoa, my God. All right. Okay, good to know.
All right, moving on.
Why these conversations are so important, because I don't know the business world like you guys know the business world. Yeah. That's why it's critical that I get input from you about these key areas and content that's really going to move the audience. I'm the one who's the actor and trying to do these things, but without your input, I may not be effective.
Well, what we have to offer is a wealth of cynicism.
Which is knowledge.
Not you, Gordon.
No, not me.
No, not at all. Not at all. Okay, great. Oh, I was going to mention one quick thing before you move on, Gordon. Hold on. Another critical reason why we need this email list is we can create within Facebook something called lookalike audiences. So depending on the email list that we get, Facebook will identify who are those people in Facebook that we have on that email list, capture, it's so Big Brother, this is crazy. They'll capture all their likes, their interests, and their habits, and they'll go and they'll find people who've displayed those exact same things or similar and create a brand new, total new audience for you that is very similar to what it is that you've given Facebook.
I see.
So that's why that email list is also really, really helpful and critical, is that we can create lookalike audiences to find new people who also would be interested. So go ahead, Gordon.
Oh, no, I don't have anything to add to that. I was just looking at some of the other line items you have here on your profile and wanted to add maybe under things that keep them up at night. You have making difficult decisions, ego-driven team members. I think maybe you might add internal power struggles and ineffectual group processes to that list.
Where are you seeing that, Gordon?
Hot topics.
On where?
This is on the
down here.
on the profile that Mike
got it.
here.
Got it.
Yeah. No, not intersexual. Ineffectual.
This is why I wrote it out.
That's a Freudian slip there, my dear.
The other can be an important one as well.
We already went to talk about gender. What did we get? Internal power struggles? Is that politics, political?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sure we've all seen some of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy to get away from that. There's a lot going on right now.
I'll add implementation.
Yes.
Yeah, implementation and follow through.
Okay. Which is great because these are the pain points, right? So as we're also developing content, we need to address these very specific things in very concrete ways beyond just the book.
Well, these are the things that people are going to be looking for solutions to.
Right.
Yeah.
Hence why a freebie that addresses something like this,
right,
like one or more of these, is very valuable for them to exchange your email for.
5 tips on dealing with ego-driven team members.
Exactly. Something exactly like that. Yeah.
There's so many sites that love lists of things. 10 ways to.
They do. Oh, they're all over the internet because people do. They want
I'm gonna make a brand new list of 10 ways to deal with a micromanaging boss.
Yes. That's another one. That's, like it's all within the realm of business. And so you guys are not only experts in group decision making, but experts in like what works well and what doesn't within business settings. So these are things that, again, it's building your brand even beyond the book.
Okay.
So if you want to, Kevin, you can. I know you have a lot of motivation right
now.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Now, what do you have? What conversations are most popular? What do you mean by that exactly?
What are they talking about? Like people within this particular target market. What are they talking about? What interests them? What conversations or questions would elicit conversation? Because what we want to happen, for example, in the Facebook group is we want to be able to pose a question like, just looking back at the pain point, like, what are your greatest struggles with getting a team to follow through? And people are very opinionated on that, very with experience, or they just don't know their own experience sharing.
Well, it's everything that we know about, which is, do they have the authority? What is the time to make this decision? Are they really supported with what decision they're making? And all these, we could go on with, stuff that we put in the book. It's, that's what I see right now is that, a lot of the, there's one team right now that's looking at something at work, and they're they beat around the bush all the time. There's only one person that's trying to push it, but they're being very careful with what they say. So which means nobody really has the authority to really get anything done.
Right. Okay.
Are these the conversations that an average participant is going to have, or that, say, the person who has convened the meeting? I see maybe those are different conversations. I can see, for example, a team leader having difficulty with a group and maybe motivating them to participate, either fully, getting everyone involved, getting people to set aside their petty differences, but those would be different conversations than some of the participants who are not perhaps in a leadership role.
Well, we could position most of these things from a leadership role, of which even participants could benefit from the conversation. And
because I assume we're kind of targeting the leadership role, since they're going to be the ones that'll be implementing some change and using solution building as the mechanism for that change, right?
Yeah, and I would argue that's our primary target market.
Okay. Yeah.
We're going for the leaders now, as others, and then people who are interested in leadership as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you have participants that are like, I could be a better leader. What can I take from this that would help my leader to do better?
Well, they're influencers of a different sort who may influence the leader to take a look at this.
Right.
Yeah. Because you have ineffectual leaders too, who are basically, rudderless, and very often they have strong supporting people that they rely on to kind of prop them up even.
Yeah. So this could be even like a future blog post, which is, what do you do if your leader isn't a very effective leader? Give some like, if they're influenceable, here are some actions you could take. If they're not influenceable, what are the things that you could do, down to starting your own business, and then thinking proactively about these things as you're developing your team. So that could be a future blog post, for example, or a future book.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's kind of the cool thing about these blogs, is that we can start to see, like, what is the interest around particular topics and subtopics that could be further developed into whole books later.
Okay.
And then the last one there is, what products or services do they utilize? And you just have, what are they looking for?
I just added that.
Oh, you added that?
Yeah, I just added that. And part of that goes back to, excuse me, to the previous, what conversations are most popular? What are you not finding out there?
Yeah.
Well, they might have tried outside consultants.
Yeah.
Or whatever passes for that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's sort of, that was one of my thoughts. Maybe they use consultants. Maybe they just look for contract people to come in and do things. I don't know. Speakers, motivational speakers,
right?
All those different things that people will use. But my question is really, okay, what products or service do they utilize? What do they want out of them? How can we deliver something that they want?
Yeah. Well, from recent experience, we had that leadership thing just a couple months ago, and they brought in these two women that have also written a book that what they presented, and it was too much. It was too big. It was too much. It didn't really give you any actionable things that you could actually work on and have some tools to do something. It was like, okay, here's a textbook. Good luck.
Yeah. And that's something that I've seen in almost all the books that are written about decision making.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to bring up is as interest is being generated, you may right away start to have companies say, yes, what do you have available? Can you come and train my team? Are you prepared for that? Like, I know you have some initial things that you did with ABS. Have you thought about having a simple initial training program that can be delivered to a company or to a team?
Well, we created Mike and I primarily, but Gordon was also there. But in doing the presentation to ABS, we also prepared a group of a PowerPoint presentation that we could utilize for organizations as well. So
yeah,
that's great.
So we have a good start on it.
Yep.
Okay. Because you may right away start getting people who are interested saying, yeah, absolutely. Can you come meet with my team? Or
I think we could do that quickly.
Okay. And then same with speaking engagements, it would be good to look over any materials you have, refine them, and make sure that they're ready to go in the event that we start getting interested leads in that way.
Okay.
Which would be great because it's another opportunity for you to sell books. Every speaking engagement is potentially another great source of selling your books.
I'd love to. All right, so we're at 11 o'clock. I don't know what everybody else's time is.
I got to go as well.
Yeah. So I just want to, Gordon, you want to update us on, have you had any conversation with Naomi on the cover?
I did talk to Naomi, and she's really busy, not only with her day job, but she's preparing for an art show of her own this summer, and she has to have a certain number of pieces prepared for whenever that is, July or August, I don't know. I asked her if Paloma still kept her hand in, because she's also a talented artist. The whole family is dripping with artistic talent. I almost went down the list and asked if Heidi could tattoo us a book cover.
I was going to say, dripping ink.
In the family. And, Naomi said she'd ask her, and she'd ask around with some of her other friends. But, I'm not really expecting anything to come from that.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's...
Well, I got an idea. I mean, there's the guy that's the video producer work is kind of really good with graphics. I might just grab him on the side and say, "Here's our cover." See if he's got any ideas. Maybe.
Right.
All right. Let me see if I can do that.
Yeah, that's great. I think we need to have some other avenues if Naomi's too busy, which doesn't.
I was even thinking Rich Chamberlain could probably do something for us. He's done. I think he did some cover art for one of his own books.
Yeah, he did. So I read that book.
And like I mentioned, Gordon, I sent you that email.
Yeah, Catherine McGraw Patterson. Is that who's?
Yes, she's another potential. She's one of my former clients. She's a business coach, and she developed her own. She's a graphic design artist. So one thing I mentioned to Gordon, like that are some elements of a great cover design. I mean, it's real quick. I'll just share real quickly. As a first impression, it needs to look good or better than what the New York publishers are putting out in the same genre, because oftentimes they can show up on the same bookshelf as those, which is really cool to do self-publishing. It needs to be appealing to the reader in a thumbnail size format, because often that's how big they'll see it on like e-readers or online.
Right.
It needs to resonate with the target audience. We need to understand who the audience is. We have that, and target that market with micro precision. And typically this can be done through like symbols. So it needs to convey a promise that will satisfy reading aspirations. So what are the trigger symbols that describe the aspirations of the target reader or help them to self-identify as the target reader of the book? As an example, I'll show you real quick. One of my other clients has 2 books. So her book, this one, I don't know if you can see it very well. It's called Escape the To-Do List Trap.
Yeah.
And it's a digital cover with a clock, someone in a bear trap looking with their to-do list looking like they're gonna die because it's like their to-do.
Yeah, and this one you sent me, Lunching with Lions, looked great.
Yeah, that's another one. And that's about networking for people who hate networking.
Right. Maybe you could forward this email to Kevin and Mike as well, so they can take a look at it.
So one helpful thing is to identify, because you know the target market best, what are the symbols that trigger like, oh, right, that's me, or that's exactly what, of group decision making and how difficult it can be. And I don't know what that is. It's kind of a harder thing to say, but or to figure out, but I will.
Well, one thing is that we're trying to overcome some type of a deadlock in the decision-making process.
Yeah, I'm envisioning like an arrow for moving and then a stop sign, because it's like, why stop there? A stop sign with a no symbol on it.
Yeah.
There's a good start, yeah.
And then I also had sent, I think I sent you, Gordon, like a list of, I did. So you'll see within that same email that I sent to Gordon is a link to the best business books of 2018.
Yeah.
Get a sense of what are the other covers of the other books that are selling really, really well. But I would argue that if we can identify that key symbol that can be used, and graphically present that, so much
that's going to take some thought, because it's
But that's why you hire someone to do it, is because you give them a clear sense of who is the target market, what are the key symbols, here's what else is selling really well within the same genre.
Well, it requires an artistic mind, someone that thinks in images. That's clear.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So meeting again in 2 weeks?
Yes.
That sounds good.
Great. Yes. I think at this stage it's really helpful. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Same bat time, same bat station.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Hold on a second. I need to make sure I can actually do that real quick. I might be out of town for a Training Institute board meeting. I will.
Well, how about 3 weeks then?
The 24th actually might be better for me.
Okay, yeah, that works better for me too.
All right.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Day prayers for everyone's things.
You want to do this through Zoom again?
Yeah, I think this is great.
This works.
I'll set up the Zoom and send out the link.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
And,
Bye.
and Kevin, you're going to email Mike and me some additional information?
Yeah.
Financial information?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.